Thanks very much. Well, I'd like to start by recognising the work of staff over the past 12 months and commend the 2017-18 annual report to you. This report represents the culmination of 9 years of activities under the leadership of Ian Halliday, who has made a substantial contribution to the dairy industry and has been, I think, appropriately acknowledged here today. I sought the role of Managing Director because I genuinely believe in the future of the Australian dairy industry. And I also believe in the immense power of good people in the industry working together to create a positive future. In the time that I've been in this role, though, it's become clear that we are facing profound and testing times. There are very large forces for change that the industry is experiencing, including pressures on production costs, major changes in global trade, and different ownership structures of milk processing businesses, let alone the current season that has created a feed shortage and a feed price escalation when the industry least needs it. To combat our new reality, we need a new direction. I will draw on my recent experience as a starting point, especially how we navigated our way by being focused on what we had rather than what we had not. In bioscience, we took a fast-moving science opportunity where studies of DNA drove an entirely new way of evaluating the merit of cattle and created new breeding programs for pasture. We did this with a shared commitment between government, Dairy Australia and other industry investors. It started with getting the attitude to investing right, that harnessed big and bold ideas and built teams with serious local talent. We now regularly speak about pastures with higher yields, higher quality and more persistence. We identify cattle from anywhere in the world that deliver production, health and fertility in an Australian setting. This started a chain reaction of driving change and impacting critical areas of farm performance. It was clear that the industry needed a much stronger herd improvement sector. We've talked about this a bit today, and we've had the great fortune of recognising people like John Harlock who's played such a pivotal role in this as well. So it's a pleasure to come and talk about it today after the award today, Shirley. Talented people got involved, this time from across the breadth of the sector. An industry strategy was developed, and out of that, DataGene was created. Also want to make another point. We've talked about DataGene a few times, but another point that's relevant is that Dairy House has just become a reality. Because as of this month, DataGene, Holstein Australia, Jersey Australia and National Herd Improvement Association are all based in the same location. Here is another great example of industry working together. Then 2 years ago, I took on the challenge of pulling together a new team with the ambition of creating a similar achievement in the agronomy and the nutrition space. We needed to break out of the pattern of science investment of the past 20 years and create the opportunity to do something much bigger. And I appreciate your work, Peter and Andy, for bringing some of the machines that are used in dairy feed base to just exemplify, the sort of things we can do with modern technology. Because it just emphasises this opportunity to do something much bigger. And we need to do this because it continues to be a pressing need. We understand, we've talked about it this morning a few times, how important growing and utilising feed is to the success of dairy businesses. This dairy feed-based initiative is the result, and it will deliver impacts that change the way pasture is managed and cows are fed. The future of dairy farming is genuinely exciting for all of us in the room. I'm focused on innovation in this part of the speech because it's such a large part about being positive about the future. And one way to represent it is to have two big targets for the next decade. First, a target of adding $1,000 per hectare per year from growing and utilising forages. Second, a target of adding $500 per cow per year from breeding and feeding cattle. The timing of delivering these gains is spread out over the next 10 years as major new innovations are adopted. We've mapped the value of this work in today's dollars so we can relate the targets to farm performance as we see it and observe it today. These targets of $1,000 and $500 are very large and would double the operating margins of the average Australian dairy farm. And I'm using them deliberately to show the enormous power of innovation and how it can have a positive effect on the future of the Australian dairy industry. Jeff has highlighted our commitment to work with industry partners and consult with the broader dairy community. We will take part in forging the future of the Australian dairy industry through the development of the Australian Dairy Plan. I think this is an ideal time for the industry to be working together on a united front, and it's very timely for me as a new Managing Director. I will apply all the lessons I've learned improving dairy innovation to ensure the Dairy Plan provides the industry with what it needs now and in the future. I know there are things we need to do well. We have to bring as much of the industry as possible into the conversation about the future of our industry. We have to make sure Dairy Australia is focused and on the things that matter most. We have to identify big themes and use our inherent strengths to tackle those challenges together. We have to be brave. We have to try new things, because you never know where that might lead us. And we have to be clear on the non-negotiables, so we all take responsibility for the things that we need to do well, time after time, year after year. I've had the opportunity to talk to a range of people from different parts of our industry, and there's a strong sense that this is a pivotal moment to refocus the industry. I've also spoken at length to team members at Dairy Australia about our commitment to the Australian Dairy Plan. It will be a source of inspiration and motivation for all of us who come to work at Dairy Australia and serve the dairy industry. We can't really talk about a positive future without discussing what is going well today that gives us confidence. Dairy Australia is now more regionally focused than ever before. There are 8 strong regional offices, each providing extension services, actively involved in learning programs, and all playing a significant role in our response to the current feed shortage. Local activities, local investment, and local support are critical for both the situation at hand, as well as continuing to build the skills and capabilities of farm businesses. The feed shortage response is actually a great example of Dairy Australia working well and responding quickly. Through social and group events, as well as one-on-one support, we've been very active in every region. And this support will continue for at least another 12 months. Because we understand that there's now both a season-by-season challenge, as well as the need to step back and take a longer view of farm business needs. Dairy Australia continues to monitor and support successes in the domestic and export dairy sectors. Australian milk, cheese and yoghurt sales continue to grow, both in terms of volume sold and value generated. Cheese is a good example of this, with volume growth of 1.9% and value of sales increasing by 3.9%. Domestic milk sales continue to grow, up 0.9% on last year, defying trends seen in other developed countries where milk sales are declining. Export sales continue to be an important revenue source, and positioning of product into higher value segments is critical to success. Milk processors were able to leverage the 3.1% increase in national milk production to generate exports that were up by 11.5% in sales value. Genetic improvement underpins all progressive dairy industries around the globe. And we can now stand with any of these countries and demonstrate our own success. As has been mentioned earlier, the establishment of Datagene and the adherence to a new herd improvement strategy are bearing fruit. But we're hungry for more. The rate of gain has already doubled, and we're now striving to increase this further. It's a credit to the whole herd improvement sector how they work together to quickly deliver value to farmers. I'll share one anecdote with you. If we use 300 on a BPI scale as a reference point, a couple of years ago there were only a handful of bulls greater than 300. In a remarkably short space of time, there are now well over 100 bulls better than 300, with a wide range of companies providing genetic options of this quality. It's quite something. We've identified practical on-farm changes that improve performance, especially in the fields of irrigation, nutrition, milk quality, farm safety, and farm business management. Some examples include the Smarter Irrigation for Profit project, which showed we can increase the effectiveness of irrigation by 20 to 50% on commercial farms. The Advanced Nutrition course has been well regarded and is now available through all 8 regional offices. A new Better Hygiene, Better Milk app has been launched to support milk quality testing and analysis. Farm safety has been a focus area, with over 700 farmers attending workshops and 2,600 starter kits provided to farmers. There's also 2 new farm business management programs launched: Dairy Business Analysis and Farm Business Fundamentals. The Milk Analysis project, called Mere for Profit, demonstrated the power of using the same milk samples that are collected for herd testing for new practical outcomes. Here is a video that summarises the work and explains its potential to improve farm management.
For a long time, we'd been looking at getting into researching the MIR space. Rural R&D for Profit gave us, I suppose, the funding that we needed. And for me, it's been one of the most exciting projects that I've been involved in my career so far. And that's mainly because the potential for it is absolutely enormous. So the aim of the project is to use mid-infrared technology. So when you shine light through milk samples and you get a spectrum of data that we then use to predict lots of traits that are of economic importance to farmers.
So in Australia, we've developed a number of equations that use MIR spectral data to predict different cow performance traits. Energy balance, for example, of a cows in early lactation can be predicted with a fairly good accuracy using MIR information, and this information would allow the farmer to make early intervention to prevent production losses, reduce early lactation disease, and improve fertility of dairy cows.
I think it's great that we can look forward to something that can help us make early decisions on the cow's performance based off a milk sample. Collecting the milk isn't a difficult process for us, and just from that milk sample we get a lot more information and we can make more informed decisions on farm.
The information we're getting is a lot more accurate now than what it used to be. We save in feed costs and we seem to get the most out of our high producing cows by feeding them to their requirements.
One of the really rewarding parts of the MIR for Profit project is to see the collaboration take place amongst the researchers, the herd test centres that are involved in collecting the data from farms, and the farmers themselves that are doing the milk sampling and the recording of information on a regular basis, combined with industry partners such as Datagene and Dairy Australia to be able to pull together the information and the know-how and the commitment to be able to turn a technology that's brand new into something that farmers can make use of in their daily operations.
I think this is probably one of the most transformational technologies that we've got in dairy science right now. The scope for it is absolutely enormous. We've just started in terms of the traits that we can predict with it. There are many more things that we can do, and I think from a practical sense, this is going to give farmers much better ways that they can manage their cows into the future. But for me, as a geneticist, perhaps the most exciting thing is how we can use it together with DNA technologies.
MIR for Profit is really an ongoing journey. Over the next 12 months, we'll continue to work with industry and farmers to develop and fine-tune reports so we can provide the best information back to farmers to make smart decisions with that information.
I think it's really important that we invest in projects like the MIR for Profit project. It's a project that has been designed around creating tools and software that are going to be at the forefront of what the farmer's using.
Rural R&D for Profit is incredibly important because it provides the ground root science that is absolutely transformational in terms of farmer productivity and profitability.
There you go. I think Jeff and I just agreed, Terry, that Australian Dairy Play needs its own music, so uplifting music to go with it. So, look, we're committed to this work on milk analysis. It's fantastic where that's going, and look forward to it being a routine part of the experience of herd testing cattle and what it can bring. Keep on moving. We support the industry initiatives in sustainability, where we're setting goals and achieving real gains that are recognised by our major customers as well as the broader public. The Australian Dairy Industry Sustainability Framework recently endorsed a dairy industry promise, providing nutritious food for a healthier world. This is underpinned by 4 commitments relating to farmer livelihoods, human health and nutrition, animal welfare, and adapting to climate change. We are active in public discussions about health and nutrition and the role of Australian dairy. We celebrate the pure joy of dairy with the annual Australian Great Dairy Awards. We remind people of the nutritional importance of dairy through the Healthy Bones campaign. We also invest in quality research to contribute to future public discussions. For example, in the last year, data was collected from over 11,000 residents in aged care facilities for an international fractures trial. We rarely act alone. The successes I've just described are shared successes, made possible through shared investment, access to expertise, and access to infrastructure. Individuals and communities have played major roles, as have governments and a range of businesses. And so I would like to thank the dairy farmers and dairy advisors who support us and our work. I'd also like to thank the federal government and the Department of Agriculture and Water Resources, representative groups throughout the country, including Australian Dairy Industry Council, Australian Dairy Farmers, Australian Dairy Products Federation, state dairy farmer organisations, as well as state government agencies, research organisations and businesses who are project partners. In particular, I would like to thank the Gardner Dairy Foundation, who in the last 12 months have made important investments in large innovation projects, the Dairy Bio and Dairy Feed Base initiatives, as well as jointly invested in our combined response to the feed shortage. Thank you to the Gardner Foundation's board, and in particular Chair Dr. Bruce Kefford and Chief Executive Officer Dr. Clive Noble. It is inescapable that the industry is facing head-on into a changed and challenging environment. It is times like these that Dairy Australia needs to be more relevant than ever before, to define our role in achieving future success and to be closely connected with all of you in the Australian dairy industry. I stand here today with the board, with the executive, and with all the staff that work across the country. We are as one in our efforts to serve the dairy industry and achieve great things. We have to get greater impact from the investments we have made and support higher levels of performance with what we have invested in. We need to focus on what we want to be as an industry. The Australian Dairy Plan is a key enabler to achieve this, and we will actively work with the whole industry to accomplish our collective goal. I've been given the great privilege of leading Dairy Australia at this time, and I'd like to thank the directors here for your confidence and support. Jeff and I welcome a robust discussion on our performance and on the challenges ahead. Thank you.